Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Ajnanaतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 10, Dhruva Mahāraja's fight with the Yakṣas. So we are in the section where there is a Uttama died because of the attack of the Yaksha, and Dhruva, he became extremely angry with the Yakṣas because he was unrighteously killed, and therefore he decided to take on the revenge. And 130,000 Yakshas, they attacked simultaneously on Dhruva Maharaj. And here we are, text 14. Ha ha kara tada eva asit siddha asit siddh. Ek second. Ha ha kara tada eva siddhanam divi pashyatam hatoyam manavah surye magnah punya janarnave. Translation.
All the Siddhas from the higher planetary systems were observing the fight from the sky. And when they saw that Dhruva Maharaj had been covered by the incessant arrows of the enemy, they roared tumultuously, "The grandson of Manu, Dhruva, is now lost." They cried that Dhruva Maharaj was just like the sun, and that now he had set within the ocean of the Yakshas. Purport. In this verse, the word Manava is very significant. Generally, this word is used to mean human being. Dhruva Maharaj is also described here as Manava. Not only is Dhruva Maharaj a descendant of Manu, but all human society descends from Manu. According to Vedic civilization, Manu is the lawgiver. Even today, Hindus in India follow the laws given by Manu. Everyone, therefore, in human society is a Manava or descendant from Manu. But Dhruva Maharaj is distinguished Manava because he is a great devotee. The denizens of the planet Siddhaloka, where the residents can fly in the sky without airplanes, were anxious over Dhruva Maharaj's welfare in the battlefield. Srila Rupa Goswami says, therefore, that not only is a devotee well protected by the Supreme Lord, but all the demigods and even ordinary men are anxious for this security and safety. The comparison given here that Dhruva Maharaj appeared to merge in the ocean of the Yakshas is also significant. When the sun sets on the horizon, it appears that the sun drowns in the ocean, but factually the sun has no difficulty. Similarly, although Dhruva appeared to drown in the ocean of the Yakshas, he had no difficulty. As the sun rises again in due course at the end of the night, so Dhruva Maharaj, although he might have been in difficulty, because after all it was a fight, and in any fighting activities there are reverses. That did not mean that he was defeated. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So now Hahakar, there was a tumultuous disappointment, Hahakar, Nirasha, whom Tada evam asit siddhanam divi pashyatam. When the residents of the Siddhaloka, they observed that the fight from the sky, they saw Dhruva Mahārāja had been completely covered by this 130,000 Yakṣas, each shooting 6 arrows. You can imagine what kind of, almost like 1,000,000 arrows were falling on Dhruva that time. And now they say, Hatoyam manavah suryo magnaha punyajana aranave. Aranava means ocean. Punyajana means this Yakṣas, that now this ocean of Manu, Manavas, who is coming from who is a descendant of Manu, coming from Manu, is now set in within the ocean of the Yakshas. The son of Manu is descending is set in the ocean of the Yakshas. Beautiful analogy. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains who is Manava. That Dhruva Mahārāja is Manava because he came from Manu. But not only Dhruva, everybody is Manava. Because entire human society comes from Manu and should run on the laws given by Manu, that is called as Manusmriti. Right? So Dhruva Mahārāja, although everybody is Manava, Dhruva is a distinguished Manava because he was a great devotee of the Supreme Lord. Then there is a description of the residents of the Siddhaloka who can fly at their will. Right? And when they saw, as such, they had nothing to do. It was just a normal fight going on between two parties. And they observed many such fights. But suddenly when they saw such a great devotee being attacked by the Yakshas, Srila Prabhupada quotes Rupa Goswami, where Rupa Goswami says, not only devotee is protected by the Supreme Lord, but by all the demigods and even ordinary men are anxious for the security and safety of a devotee. Why? Because devotee is a personality who is Suridam Sarvabhutanam Kyatvamam Shanti Mrichati Dhira Dhira Jana Priyo Priyakaram. Because he is a natural well-wisher of everyone, Sarvabhutanam, and he is very dear to Dhira Dhira Jana. Therefore, what happens is that everybody is anxious for the welfare of a devotee. Right. And there is so this was the first point, everybody is a Manava. Second point is that everybody is concerned, anxious for security and safety of a devotee. And the third is a beautiful comparison that the son of Manu, Dhruva, setting in the ocean of Yakshas. But the analogy is also very beautiful because it may appear at the sunset, the sun has set within the ocean and sun has dubified, drowned in the ocean. That is not the case. Sun is far more bigger than the ocean and extremely powerful. And the sun is going to rise again. And similarly, although Dhruva was in difficulty, but that doesn't mean he was defeated. Prabhupada says there are always reverses in any of the match. So these are such 3 points Srila Prabhupada mentions here. Text 15. Nadatsu yatu dhaneshu jayakashishu athomrde udatishtat ratho tasya niharadiva bhaskaraha. Translation?
Translation: the Yakshas, being temporarily victorious, exclaimed that they had conquered Dhruva Mahārāja. But in the meantime, Dhruva's chariot suddenly appeared, just as the sun suddenly appears from within foggy mist. Purport: here Dhruva Mahārāja is compared to the sun and the great assembly of the Yakshas to foggy mist. Fog is insignificant in comparison with the sun. Although the sun is sometimes seen to be covered by fog, in fact, the sun cannot be covered by anything. Our eyes may be covered by a cloud, but the sun is never covered. By this comparison to the sun, the greatness of Dhruva Mahārāja in all circumstances is affirmed. Hare Krishna.
So, Yakshas, when they saw Dhruva is completely overpowered, but momentarily, suddenly they exclaimed that we have conquered Dhruva. And by the time they were just completing their exclamations and announcing their victory, Dhruva's chariot suddenly appeared, just as sun suddenly appears from within the foggy mist. So, beautiful phrase here, Niharam iva bhaskara. Bhagavad Bhakti is also considered as bhaskara. There is a beautiful verse in first Canto which talks about Niharam iva bhaskara. Right? So, The other day, the word I was looking for, that word was nimitta. That, when this mother, when she were, embracing the child, and when she started bathing with tears and the milk, the breast milk, and that Prabhupada writes that, there is, so this is the technical word is here is nimitta. Nimitta means, there are indications. So this is the nimitta. So coming back to this verse. So Dhruva, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, Dhruva is compared to the sun, and the great assembly of the Yaksha is compared to the foggy mist. So sometimes fog may appear to be very thick and dark and, impenetrable, but it is no match to the sun. So although temporarily Yakshas they covered over Dhruva, Dhruva being extremely powerful like the sun, there was no comparison of Dhruva's greatness. And by comparing Dhruva with the sun in the previous analogy and in this analogy, Dhruva is the sun. Dhruva is being confirmed here as is going to be victorious in all circumstances. So that is the potency of Dhruva Mahārāja, Dhruva the sun. Text 16. Dhanu vispurjayan divyam dvishatam khedamudvahan astra ogam vyadamat bāṇai ghana anikam ivanilah. Translation.
Dhruva Mahāraja's bow and arrows twanged and hissed, causing lamentation in the hearts of his enemies. He began to shoot incessant arrows, shattering all their different weapons, just as the blasting wind scatters the assembled clouds in the sky. Hare Krishna.
So now, suddenly they were declaring their victory. Dhruva's chariot came out of all those lakhs of arrows, and Dhruva emerged, right? And now look at the verse, if you can see the verse itself, there is so much of Tejasvita in this verse. Dhanu vispurjayan divyam, vispurjayan, the Hindi meaning is tankar, futkar. So Dhanu, the bow and the arrows, twanged and hissed, causing lamentation in the heart of his enemies. Dvishatam khedam udvahan. Astraugham is, the different types of astras. Vyamadat bāṇaihi. Ghananikam ivanilah. So just like the blasting wind shatters the assembly of the clouds in the sky, similarly, Dhruva began to shoot the incessant arrows, scattering all their different weapons in different directions. And this is how Dhruva, just came out of this, the initial cover being covered by Yakṣas. So this Dhanur Vispurjayan, there is a beautiful story about Virata Yuddha. At Virat, we know that Pandavas, they had kept all their weapons on the Shami Vriksha. And the 1 year was almost about to complete, the year of Agyatavas. Suddenly, it's such a beautiful and big story, but we will try to wind up in a couple minutes. So all the attempts of, the spies, thousands of spies, they were employed by Duryodhan, they completely failed in discovering Pandavas. So one day, Duryodhan was so frustrated, finally said that, I have to go to the ocean of knowledge, that is Bhishma Pitama, and ask him, where are the Pandavas? And Duryodhan came to Bhishma and he said that, my dear Bhishma, please tell me where I can find my dear brother Pandavas. And Duryodhan was always so diplomatic, always so double-meaning, double-minded personality. And such people are extremely difficult to tolerate. Sometimes we also have to be very careful in our dealings. Why? Because the world many times teaches us what I called, something like an agentic behavior. How to behave like an agent. Like, nothing, all glories to all different agents. But the point is, people are taught some manipulative techniques how to smile, how to take interest in people, how to capture them, and how to. And many times, what happens is that this manipulative technique becomes so mechanical, and it becomes so uh, you know unworthy of personal interactions, that sometimes such people simply becomes intolerable. So when Duryodhan said, I want to find my dear brothers, Bhishma was actually disgusted. But Bhishma, because he wanted to glorify Pandavas, he said that, where can I find these Pandavas? And Bhishma began to say, there is a beautiful description in Mahabharata. Bhishma said, my dear Duryodhan, find a land which is naturally prosperous in last 1 year. Find a kingdom which has very wonderful relation with neighboring kingdoms. Find a place where cows are giving abundantly milk, especially in last 1 year. Find a place where horses are extremely happy. Find a place where the kingdom itself has suddenly become, prosperous in all different dimensions. And this is the place our dear Pandavas must be surely residing. Simply by the residence of the Pandavas, this place must have become a Punya Bhumi. This was not Duryodhan looking for. But Duryodhan got the clue, and he got all his ministers, and they said, unanimously, everybody said, in last 1 year, somehow, Virat Desh has, topped the chart on everything. There's a higher GDP, there is higher, the external affair ministry is doing extremely well, home ministry is doing extremely well, production is doing extremely well, people are suddenly happy there. So then Duryodhan said, maybe these Pandavas may be in the Virat Desh. And thus they said that if we just attack Virat and steal their dhanam, and what was dhana that time? The major aspect of dhana was go dhana. Steal their cows, Pandavas will surely come. And they said that we have to engage Pandavas in such a way that simultaneously we'll attack. So another king, he will attack on Virat Desh, and and we will, when he attacks and takes away the Virat Raja, all these Pandavas must be hiding inside. Then we will attack. So when Virat Raja with his Sena is gone, we will attack on the another side. And then that time, Pandavas will be forced by Dharma to protect Virat. And they will come out, and we will immediately find them and again send them for 12 years of Vanavas. And this was the plan. And, the other king, he attacked. Virat Raja, he just, took all the 4 Pandavas. They could not stand the attack on Virat because they felt extremely grateful to Virat for giving, shelter for 1 year. Of course, there were some nuances, but still they felt very, very happy and very grateful to Virat. So that Sena was kept, that entire Virat Sena, and, all of them, they just started fighting with the other army. And by the time everybody was engaged, extremely powerful Kuru dynasty, they attacked on Virat Desh on the other side. And that time we know that Uttar was there, and Uttar said, oh, I don't have charioteer, this, that. Only one Pandav who had not gone for that fight, and that was Arjun, because he was Brihannala. He was also very eager to fight, but Duryodhana, our Yudhishthira Maharaj said, my dear Arjun, if you go like this and fight with bow and arrow, who will not recognize you? How can a lady, he was in a trace of a lady, Brihannala, because his Kshatriya ojas was so strong, it was very difficult to hide otherwise. This was Arjun. So he was acting as a Brihannala. There was also a curse of Urvashi for 1 year, and all those things just matched. So he had not gone for fight. And when suddenly the Kuru attacked, they needed a charioteer for Uttar. And then, cutting a big story short, finally, Uttar, he said that I cannot fight. But he said, I can be a very good Sarathi. And then Arjun said that, okay, you be my Sarathi. And then he handed over, Uttar handed over his own bow and arrow to Arjun. And Arjun just looked at the bow and arrow. And Arjun said, my dear Uttar, your toy bow will not stand my mighty arms. And Uttar was saying then, but where is your bow then? And then he said, no, we go to that Shami Vriksha and we'll get down the weapons. And he said, no, we have heard there is one ghost hanging there. We have seen also some white ghost. We will not go. And he said, no, that is not the ghost. That is the rumor we only had spread so that people will not unnecessarily come to those weapons. They will be unable to handle those weapons. And let us go. And then he said, who are you? And then Brahmanala said, you did not recognize me. Actually, I am Arjun. And as soon as Uttar heard he is Arjun, Uttar was, so excited. And he said, I mean, just imagine that, you you are doing something else and suddenly you take Uber ride and you are about to pay the Uber this thing and suddenly the Uber man says, I'm not Uber man, actually I am Narendra Modi. And then you will say, Are, how come you are here? So Arjun was a hero all across. For the entire Arya Varta, Arjun was the hero. And suddenly Arjun was on the chariot. Uttar said, impossible. How can I believe you are Arjun? And then where are other Pandavas? We heard that they are in Agyatavas. And they said that, yes, we are in Agyatavas in your kingdom only. And then he said, the Kanka, the minister, is actually Yudhishthir. Then the Ballava, he is the, he is actually your
Chef.
cook, is actually Bhima. And then there is, this Tantrapal and the other fellow, they are the Nakul and Sahadev. And he said that still I don't believe. Can you tell me the 10 names of Arjun? And then, then he said, oh, my name is Dhananjay. Then he said, my name is Krishna. My name is Falguni. My name is... And Arjuna spoke his 10 names. And then he said, go up and get those, weapons. So Uttar was so happy. He fell at the feet of Arjuna. He said that you are my hero. Actually, looking at you only we are learning. Right? Nowadays, just like people, so many boys, they learn cricket looking at Virat Kohli. Virat Kohli has become a Vaishnava now. He is wearing Kantimala also. Okay. So like that Arjun was, and much more than that, right? Even Radharani, in one of the discussions, she says, why Krishna will come back to Vrindavan now? He is very famous now. He is known as the friend of Arjun. Look at the who is saying what. Radharani is saying, why Krishna will come back to Vrindavan? Now he has become a very famous person in Aryavarta and is famously known as friend of Arjun. This was Arjun, right? So, and this description is so beautiful. They got the weapons down and Arjuna began to chant the mantras. And, then he was just unfolding. He just opened, that how they had tied up the weapons in the cloth. As soon as he opened the cloth, suddenly there was a Divya Prabha coming from the weapons. And Arjuna is, broad smile, lightened face. And he just looked at Uttar and he said, now, Uttar, I will introduce you which these weapons are. And he said, this is the spear. This is the Chakravarti Samrat, Maharaj Yudhishthir. This belongs to him. And then he said, this Gada, Mahagadam. This is the mighty Bhima. When he comes with this Gada, literally the Kala personified is also, cannot defeat him. And then he said, this is the Talwar, this is the, and he was introducing one after another. And then finally he said, this is my Gandiva. And as soon as Arjuna picked up Gandiva, right, suddenly, celestially, the one, the quiver, bhata bolte usko, and the arrows, they just fell from the sky and they fell on the back of Arjun. Arjun was just getting ready with Gandiva. And Arjuna said, now, my dear Dhruva, my dear Uttar, I am going to... And Arjuna picked up that Gandiva with such affection. He was just caressing the Gandiva. He offered obeisances to Gandiva, his bow, and he picked up the Gandiva and he said that, now Uttar, please hold on as I am going to twang my Gandiva. And then, Arjun, he just picked up his Gandiva. He just, the string, pulled the string with his mighty arms and twanged the string. This is where here it is. Dhanur, Vispurjaya Divyam. Extremely powerful Divya Dhanush. When that made the sound, literally it was like a huge thunderbolt crack. And, there was like hurricanes were
And suddenly all the 4 horses of this Ratha of Uttar, they just suddenly lost all their strength and sat down. A very tumultuous wind began to blow across the battlefield. And Uttara, he was about to fall unconscious. He just closed his eyes and he said, "What kind of tankar this is? I have never heard this." On another side, there were all powerful warriors. They were sitting. There were Bhishma, Drona, Duryodhan, Dushasan, Karna, Shakuni. And as soon as this tankar was heard by Drona and Bhishma, Drona looked at Bhishma and Drona said, "He's my disciple, Arjun." And Bhishma had such a broad smile because they were also wondering where these Pandavas had gone for last 1 year. And Duryodhana was extremely angry, saying that who is that warrior who can have such kind of... We have heard of Virat and we have heard of Kichak in that kingdom. We have never heard of any other warrior. So he was angry and frustrated like that. And then Arjun said, "I will do the tankar one more time. Be ready." And then by that time, Uttar went to his horses. He made them, he cajoled them, made them drink some water, made them stand up. They were still trembling. Uttar also, he just plugged his ears so that he will not. And then there was another tankar. And this was so tumultuous that literally the army of Duryodhan, it panicked and began to run away from the battlefield simply by, Dhanur Vispurjayat Divyam. Right. And then Arjun said that, "Let me mount the chariot, you be the charioteer." And Uttar said, "Yes, my dear Arjun, I may not be very good fighter, but I'm very good charioteer." This is the greatness of Uttar, right? He was the first personality to give up his life on the battlefield of Kurukshetra to save Maharaj Yudhishthir. So, and then, they were mounted on the chariot and came in front of the army, and the entire army began to laugh because Arjuna that time was dressed as Brihannala. He was dressed as a lady with long hair, he had a bindi and he had all the, bangles, and that's how he was dressed. And Uttara, a small child like Uttara, 15, 16-year-old, he was sitting as a charioteer. And the army had they were just laughing that these people are going to fight with Bhishma, Drona, and suddenly Arjuna, he took the 2 arrows. And these 2 arrows were aimed and they fell at the feet of... one arrow at the feet of Bhishma, another arrow at the feet of Drona. And as soon as he saw these 2 arrows, where others were laughing, Drona, he said to Bhishma, he said, "He is surely Arjun because, he is offering his obeisances and taking our blessings by shooting these arrows. But mind you, the next arrows will carry the death personified." And this was the time when sun was set on the side of Arjun. Right? This is Mahabharata. Welcome to climax. So, these mighty, powerful personalities, so Dhruva was like them. Dhruva's bows and arrows twanged and hissed, causing lamentation in the hearts of the enemies, just as the blasting wind scatters the assembled clouds in the sky. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you,
Jai.
Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you,
Thank
Prabhuji.
you,
Thank you,
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhupada.